his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May his presence go before you, and behind you, and around you, and within you. He is with you. His favor upon you, and 1,000 generations, and your children, and their children, and their children. His presence before you and behind you, all around you and within you. He is with you. He is with you. He is with you. He is with you now. He is with you. Oh, he's near. He is near you. He is near you now. He is with you. He is with you. things have passed away. Your love remains the same. Your constant grace remains the cornerstone. Things that we thought were dead, breathing in life again. You cause your sun to shine on darkest nights. For all that you've done, we will pour out our love. This will be our anthem song. Jesus, we love you. Oh, how we love you. You are the one our hearts adore. The hopeless have found their hope. Orphans now have a home. All that was lost has found its place in you. You lift our weary head. You make us strong instead. You took these rags and made us beautiful. All that you've done, we will pour out our love. This will be our anthem song. Jesus, we love you. Oh, how we love you. You're the one. You are the one our hearts adore. Jesus, Jesus, we love you too. Oh, how we love you too. You are the one our hearts adore. Pour out your adoration to Him.
we just allow ourselves to focus on car on the way home from church, or you can do that in the middle of your meeting during the week. You can do it at any time. I think he loves to do it in the context of worship. Or maybe it's just in the context of worship where we're a little more open, a little more available to it. So let's not waste this moment. Let's position ourselves, soften ourselves, maybe take that step, that little step towards, and see whether we can meet Jesus. See whether he might speak to us, whether he might put his arm around us and love us. And so just as we're coming towards the end of our time of sort of focused worship in that sense, Jesus, we come to you, whether we're on Facebook Live, literally live, or during the week, or for those of us here in our congregation in person this morning. And we step towards you, Lord. And we let some things drop to the floor. We don't want to wear them anymore, Lord. And we put on a new jacket, and we put on a new top. Just sort of have a sense of God saying to some, just let it go. Let it go. It's not doing you any good, so let it go. Lord, I pray that will be the case for all of us, but maybe if there's someone specific, that would be a moment of change today. Spirit of God, would you come? Come in our place. As our hearts are softened individually and collectively. I think this is a good time to reach out for healing, for provision, for direction and understanding. Here we are, God, among people we love and who love us. We reach out to you, Lord. And in that place we find a security and a safety. From which we can outwork our lives and our faith. And so, God, we come to you. Hearts expectant. Hearts available. Connecting, reconnecting to our loving God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Oh, bless you, one and all. Wasn't it lovely worshiping together today? Thank you, Moz and team, for leading us so beautifully today. I'm going to hand over to Carly, who's going to be our host today, going to tell us some stuff, and I'll be back a little later.
Just take off one hat and put on another. I have like 4 today. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Carly. If I haven't met you yet, I am the youth pastor here, which is such a joy and privilege. Oh no, how am I going to... We've got technical difficulties, so I have no screen, so I've got the notes, but I can't do the clicker as well. Okay, if you don't remember everything I tell you this morning, that is totally fair enough. And this is the best place for you to go to know what is going on in our church whānau throughout the week. It is definitely regularly updated, so you will get the current goods of what's going on here. So definitely, if you're interested in coming along to anything, seeing what's going on, that's your place. Here are the things that are coming up. We have the New People's Brunch on today, straight after the service at 11:30. It'll be up in the chapel. And so if you are new adjacent, if you haven't been to one and you've been here for a couple of years, because it hasn't happened in a couple of years. I think the last one was when I was new and I've been here for 2 years. So if you haven't been to one, it's a really good space to kind of get to know what this church is all about and a bit of the history. And we want to get to know you too. So come along. Even if you haven't signed up, that is totally fine. So make your way up to that. Just a note that it is the holidays. So just prayer and just worship are taking a 2-week break. So 2 weeks? I think. Neither of them are on today. 3 weeks, so not this week and the next 2 weeks, okay. So don't show up tonight or on Wednesday because no one will be there for the next 3 weeks, including this week. Okay, men's breakfast is coming up on the 22nd of July, which is a few weeks away, but put it in your calendars. That'll be fun. And for the ladies, the Midwinter Christmas, I think it has its own slide, yes, is coming up on the 5th of August, which is very exciting. I love a midwinter. I'm all about Christmas. Although one of my youth leaders, if you ask her any time of the year how many days till Christmas, she knows, which is impressive. I'm not that good, but I do love Christmas. So if you're interested in coming to that, definitely do. We have, Annie's got sign-up sheets for, there's a few different areas that need contribution for that one, so like setting up, bringing some desserts, packing down. She's got clipboards that she's handing around now. I signed up to bring a dessert. I've already signed up. So you should do that too. So small groups, we've been talking about our small groups the last couple of weeks. We have a few going on at this church. If you're interested, there's a board out in the foyer with all the details of them. But if you're a small group leader, do you want to just stand up and do a little shake or whatever you're comfortable doing, just so we can kind of get a vision? Small group leaders, any of you are here? Yeah, woohoo, a little shake, I love it. Thank you. So they'll be coming back term 3. So if you're interested, those people will be around for you to chat to about that. Giving, if you're not a giver and you want to be a giver, this is the place to go. Helps keep the lights on, helps us all have a good time together. Get to do the cool programs that we have going on. And time for the kids to go out. I just quickly want to note, because I have the microphone and kids, youth. Tomorrow, me and 10 people from this church are going to a youth camp for a week, which is really exciting. Kids, you can start going out. This is the camp where I became a Christian, and it's my 10th year going. So I'm really excited to get to bring some of our kids along. We have like 8 youth going, or 7 youth and 3 leaders, including me. And I really keep it in your prayers because it's quite a heavy, intense, like kind of, it's designed to stretch and grow. Stretch and grow. Funny, I didn't even, anyway. Yeah, so keep our youth in your prayers for that. That would be amazing. Now it's time for the kids to go, which includes me. Here you go, Vic.
Isn't she great? We should give her a hand. She's so wonderful, is Carly. And this is a good opportunity just to sort of say hi to somebody around you. I'm going to talk to our Facebook Live community because that's always a cool thing to do. And so, kind of, I don't know, move around or do something. It's a bit cold in here, eh? So don't complain about it. Get moving. There's a few blankets and stuff like that, but that would be great. And I get to talk to you guys. I don't know whether Carly welcomed you, but God bless. And the worship was amazing this morning. Man, I'm not sure. Maybe it was my mood or something like that. So I hope somehow it came through our Facebook Live feed. But bless you, and hopefully you were able, at least at some level, to get a little connected to God in the process. The other thing that I've been thinking about, and I mentioned it last week, is if you're watching, and it doesn't matter whether it's right now live or whether it's ongoing, could you just like what we're doing? So just on your Facebook Live there, press like, even put a comment. a nice comment. If you got a bad comment, email me. Don't put it on live. But what I was just thinking, it would be great to create a Facebook Live community, some sort of page, for people who feel like this is their church, maybe because of a distance that you aren't able to come in person, may even be sort of an ongoing thing with the COVID and being with crowds and all of that sort of thing. So really respect all of that process. But I would love, this wouldn't be a public thing, but I would love to be able to gather a group or to know who our congregation is. So when people are in difficult circumstances or whatever, as a congregation, you would want to come together. Well, we don't necessarily know who our Facebook Live congregation is, and so if you were able to let us know, that would be awesome. You might be just checking us out, or you might be just accidentally on it, and if that's the case, just ignore it. You can still like us. But if you feel like this is becoming a place that is an important spiritual place, that makes us your church. I guess it makes me your pastor. We want to be part of that process, and so if that would be a cool thing, maybe just email us, Shore, S-H-O-R-E, as in North Shore, so Shore at SVC, short for Shore Vineyard Church, shore at svc.org.nz. I think that would be fantastic. Well, bless you. I'm just going to pull this pulpit back, start my message. I'm going to be handing out oranges. You're going to miss out. Sorry about that. But I hope wherever you are, you're warm. It's actually not all that warm in here. So I hope wherever you are, you're warm, doing okay. And I'll be back with you in just a moment. Well, all right. Some of you got up and moved around. That was good. Well done. Some are a little anchored, perhaps. Morning, Franny. I've been married to this girl for 40 years yesterday. How's that? That is pretty awesome. So cool. There you go. Didn't mean to say that. We got 40 years to go, babe. That's amazing. We're going to buckle up. We've only just begun. Only just begun. There you go. Halftime. Thank you, David, for that. That's very encouraging. Very, very encouraging. Hey, it's become a habit over the last 5 years or so to do a halftime message. Halftime in the year, first service of the second half of the year. I like to hand out oranges during this time because there is this tradition, and someone over there might, over the other side, might like to as well. If you're able to pull the glad wrap off that'd be great. I don't have enough hands really, and you can hand it around. I don't know if you've been a soccer, hockey. They don't do it. Owen tells me because they're so sort of precious about their artificial turf, but those who play on grass, I'm sure, still have oranges, and you pass them out at half time. It's a little bit of I guess it's a sugar hit or something. They use jet planes apparently out at North Harbour Hockey, and the coach comes in, and if you're losing, you inspire the people and you win the game. That's the theory, isn't it? And if you're winning, you inspire the people and you stay ahead in the game, something like that. The metaphor breaks down pretty quickly because we're not winning or losing or whatever, but it seems like a heck of a good sort of thing to do, and I've apologised to our Facebook Live community. We can't do oranges for you, but you might, but at least they're warmer than we are probably on a day like this. So pass those around, get a little bit of vitamin C if that's your thing, and buckle up, as they say, for talking about this halftime message. Today it's a chance for us to track where we've been, and more importantly, I think, to ponder where God might take us, both this year, the rest of this year, but also beyond. And if we were to go back to our beginning of the year, this was my effort at the start of the year of a message. I said, this is your 2023. We don't have a theme this year as a church. Most years we have a theme, kind of we will be, and a lot of our themes are down our walls in the church here, and some of you will remember some of them. But it seemed like this year, even sort of among the uncertainty of coming out of COVID and all of those sorts of things, it just seems like, this is your 2023. For those who are interested in pilgrimage and stuff, there's a phrase, this is your Camino, and Fran and I have walked the Camino, and some of us here have walked the Camino in Spain, and it's like, if you break your leg on the first day of the Camino, this is still your Camino, because it's a process that you're in. It's not what you intended, but it's a process that you're in, and so this is your Camino, and it seemed like this is your 2023. Whatever is going to happen, or wherever things are going to going to happen in 2023, this is what God's given us in 2023. And I said back then, I'm not sure what's going to happen this year for us personally or collectively, and don't we know that? Great success, happiness, reward, or great failure, sadness, loss, or maybe there's going to be some sort of combination of those. But I am sure, and I stand here again 6 months later, I am sure that God will be with us whatever happens. And maybe some things have happened where it hasn't seemed like God has been close, or maybe, but the promise is still that God will be close. So we don't have a church theme, but we do have a kind of a church plan. And the church plan is around the whole idea of rebuilding. You might remember, if you were here and with us last year, we talked about survival and then recovery. It's like, it was brutal in COVID, wasn't it? And it was brutal coming out of COVID, both for some of us individually and also for us as a church collectively. It was, very different. And it was like, are we going to survive week by week? Is anyone going to come back? Or the people who aren't coming back, is that going to sort of topple the ship in some way? And it's like we survived, and then, we got washed up on the beach, and we sort of, sucked in the air, but we felt like we were safe. There was a time of recovery, and from the beginning of the year, it's felt like it's been a time of rebuilding. It still feels like it's a time of rebuilding for us as a church, and I'm sure you will sort of know that and understand that as you've been around. We've renovated, partly because we needed to renovate it, but partly as a statement to say we're here and we're staying here and we've got a future. I think that's a really important thing for us to have said. And so as much as it's nice to sort of have new carpet and new kids' rooms and the chapel and all of this sort of thing that we've done, the signage and all of that, and partly it's sort of a statement. I'm not sure who to ourselves maybe, or to God or to the devil or something like that. It's like, actually, we're rebuilding this thing. We're building and growing again. We have things that God has for us, and we're going to move forward from here. And how wonderful that is. And we've still got things that are going to be happening in our renovation, in a sense, part 2, where we've got work to do in the kitchen, work to do in the bathrooms, work to do in the offices. And that's what we're going to be doing over the second half of the year. Really looking forward to that. We're also about to have a method for us to be using the chapel at any time, or any time sort of through the day and into the evening, so that we can come and pray and be with God and have a place to be. And that we'll sort of let you know about that probably next Sunday, about how it's all ready. It's just a case of how we can do that with sort of good security and stuff. These things are really significant and important for us as part of the church plan. Well, anyway, that in a way goes back to January. Well, in February it was my 30-year anniversary. Lots of anniversaries happening this year, as I say, 30 years pastoring, and it seemed a really significant thing. Half my life I've been pastoring this church, or the various iterations of this church. Birkenhead Harvest Church, as it started out, I think we went to North City Harvest, North City Vineyard, Shore Vineyards, Shore Vineyard, and there's a story behind each of those changes, which I won't go into today, obviously, but nevertheless, that's kind of who and what we are, and some of our history in this thing. And it seems like we've been pretty faithful in that time. We've held services, we've planted churches, Coast Vineyard, which is thriving, Central Vineyard, which is thriving. We've done local and international mission. We've sought to build community. We've worshipped. Man, my heart was just, kind of bouncing in worship this morning or something like that. I hope yours was too. I mean, what a great job, Moz and the team did and are doing. Thank you so much. We've worshipped when we've had full bands, we've worshipped when we've had 4 drummers, and we've worshipped when we've had no drummers, over the years. It's like this is just the way that these things are, but we've worshipped faithfully in that time, and we will continue to worship faithfully as we go forward. And we've grown as lovers of Jesus and lovers of each other, loving God, loving others. That's what we've done. There have been good times in that time, and there have been really hard times. And in 3 decades, what would you expect? Kind of you have good times and hard times when you do things for a long time. We're unrecognizable in lots of ways in name and feel. But looking back, the idea that I really had was of God's expansive goodness over us, whether the times were good or hard. And so I did a couple of messages during that time. One I called Under God's Canopy, based on Isaiah 4, which says, over everything His glory will be a canopy, a shelter and a shade from the heat of the day, and a refuge and hiding place from the storm and the rain. Something about sort of God's expansive goodness. And, I kind of talked about being on the beach at Parkery and feeling so small yet so secure under this vast canopy that I was able to see. And I think that's something of what God has done with us in the past. And then the next week I talked about what I saw coming ahead, which I saw as perils and possibilities, because we were in tough seasons, and in tough seasons there are opportunities that God is doing. And so one of the perils that I talked about is the tough season, and the peril maybe that we might give up. And it would be easy for us to give up, or back then it was easy for us to give up. It's like, church is just hard at the moment, so why should I bother? Well, it's like because there's something in our heart that says that this is what makes us along the way. And so while the sort of the tough seasons might happen to us, tough seasons shape the next fruitful season. And we're still in the middle, somewhere in between as we come to the halfway point of the year, and as we're working through various things. So one of the perils, so it's back there, I guess it was on the 19th of February, because it says it there. I shared for the first time with us as a church that this was, I was entering or in my final season of pastoring. Not in the context of, and I know when that's going to happen, or I'm about to leave, or any of those sorts of things, but in the context of 30 darn years. It's like, am I going to be doing it in another 30 years? I'm going to be 90 by then. I don't think I am, and I don't think you want me to. So am I going to be doing it another 15? Probably not. Another 10, another 5. Well, who knows what these processes are? And so, I chose at that time to share that was on my mind, and so that we could have a process as a church, so that we could be talking about that, and it would be something that would be really helpful for us along the way. And so as a board, we discussed that, over the last year, or now 18 months, and we entered a season of, and we're still in a season of listening as a congregation. I was talking to someone last night who talked about they had been in a church, quite a significant church, and the pastor got up one day, and this person was a home group leader in the church, and therefore sort of supposedly connected. And the pastor got up one day and said, God has told me, and I'm leaving, and I'll be going in 3 weeks' time. And he said, the guy that I was talking to said that the people were just reeling in that time. And it's like, for me, this process, probably like I've done the last 30 years, I just want it to happen in your presence and with you, and so that we can all be part of that process. And so what we've done from the beginning of this year is Makarita has worked with a group that have, it was basically whoever wanted to be part of it, a working group to talk about, the next stages. And Makarita was going to share the message today with me, but she's sick, bless you, and she's a great watcher of our Facebook Live, so she will be watching, if not now, at some stage. But she put together a wee update and report of where that's come from. And so if we've got our tech right, I'm just going to click over to Makarita, and she's going to share for the next few minutes. Love that.
Kia ora whānau. So, daylight saving time. We're halfway towards daylight saving time. And I know that that's a pain for some of you to try and get children asleep while the sun's still out. But we tend to look forward to daylight saving time, right? There's more light. There are more opportunities to hang out with each other in daylight hours. And it's on its way. Great news. Another great news, we've been engaging in a collaborative process in considering the possibilities for our Shore Vineyard Church whānau as Vic enters his last season as our pastor. Now, we've had an emphasis on consultation, hearing the voices that matter the most, the voices of those for whom Shore Vineyard Church is home, the voices from our story as part of God's story here on the North Shore of Auckland, our story as part of the Vineyard movement in Aotearoa and worldwide, and our story as part of the Church Universal. Most importantly, it's been about hearing the voice of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So the recruitment working group formed a few months ago, and we met and we've been communicating as we seek to come up with some key characteristics and skills and qualifications and experience that we as a Shore Vineyard Church whānau would like to see in a senior pastor. Now, what the working group found helpful when we first met was to take a look at the timeline which the board have been working on as part of their strategic and succession planning mahi. And by the end of 2026, we know that Vic will be of retirement age, and that's 3 years away. Now, that's not a goal for us to work towards because Vic has been very clear that he's happy where he is and he loves leading what God's called him to. And let's face it, in what's been uncertain times, it's been really reassuring to have Vic's 30 years of pastoring experience, the outworking of the fruits of his spirit in his life, and the wisdom that comes from that leading us. So let's consider a guide for the next 3 years, right? Just like daylight saving time, we're on our way with our own DST. We've begun a period of discernment, and that's what the working group has been focused on and will keep focusing on. So the rest of 2023 is this time of discernment, gathering information and hearing all the different voices in our midst. In early 2024, we'll begin to search and sift. And at this stage, a recruitment panel will have been put together to receive applications and make recommendations to the board. Giving ourselves this time leaves us space for the possibilities of who God's already stirring or about to stir in their heart to be moving towards us. And so 2025 was set aside as a time of transition for the new pastor, transition for our staff team, transition for Vic, but also transition for our whānau as we embrace and learn to grow around our grief as well as embarking on a new adventure together. Be reassured, Vic and the board are also committed to working together in cooperation with what God's already doing and then navigating any changes together. We do that well, people. We do together well. So DST, discernment, search and sift, transition. So where to from here? Well, I have a newsletter update. If any of you would like that or would like to keep informed, please email me, makarita@svc.org.nz. And we also encourage you to discuss and share your ideas and your thoughts with each other, particularly with those in the working group. They're available for you to chat with. And then, of course, there's our staff team. Your voice is so welcome here. And our heart as a board is to hear your voices as we look forward to another 30 plus years of Shore Vineyard whānau. Kia ora.
And we should add to that list Ian Telford, who's part of the working group as well. So Ian's at the back there if you don't know him. But really you can talk to any of those people or talk to me because the process
Kia ora
is...
whānau.
Oh!
So
It was great, Margarita, but not that good, all right? Okay. All right. But you get well soon, you lovely thing. That's great. It feels to me like, it is a time for us as a church, say that in a different way. It's like we have the privilege of the church as it is at the moment to walk through that time. So it's almost like as representatives of the last 30 years, and some people have been here for a lot of that, some people are very new, and even representatives of those who will yet come over the next 30 years and on, hopefully, we get to be the ones who walk through this process over the next few years. And it is a few years, so it's not sudden, and it's not, if anything, it's we're going to err on the side of being slow rather than fast. And I think that's the most, kind of honouring to everybody in the process. But we get to be the people who, so don't, kind of belittle or make little of the part that we all get to play in this. This is a really important story of our church, an important conversation for us as a church. And so I'm so pleased to be able to do that with you, both for myself and for you and for the church. In Ecclesiastes 3, it says there's a time for everything, a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build. And it feels like, if you look back over the last few years, we've had our times of tearing down. And we talked at one stage during the year about the whole beyond doubt thing. And Swoboda said there's a world of difference between deconstructing wrong beliefs and deconstructing the faith. That just as there's a difference between remodeling a room in our home and tearing down the house. And so it has been a time of sort of assessment in all sorts of ways, but hopefully a safe one. That we've been able to do. And then there's also the sense of it's a time to build and to rebuild. And I'm reading this book by Joseph Hellerman, and I'm going to be speaking next week on the church as a family out of this book by Hellerman. And he says long-term interpersonal relationships are the crucible of genuine progress in the Christian life. People who stay also grow. People who leave do not grow. There's something about us being together that's really important. You can't have a conversation if you've got nobody to have a conversation with. And you can't find collective wisdom unless we all do this together. And so what a privilege it is. It's what a blessing it is to be in this process. And so I'm kind of excited about that and how we will go. And so it's a time to build. And we really are building. In so many ways, I think we're building. There's just new life happening, it seems to me, all over the place. We have new people. We have tons of people coming upstairs to be part of, exploring Shore Vineyard or recognizing the fact that they are now and consider themselves to be part of Shore Vineyard. That's pretty darned exciting. We have new groups springing up all over the place, like you can't stop them, it seems. It's just fantastic. So, some of those home groups out there that you'll see, some of them have been going for quite a long time. But what Annie's doing with our women's group is just amazing. Tyrone, bless him, is putting together this men's breakfast on the 22nd by saying, well, the women get to do something, what do the men do? And because Tyrone's an intern, you get to say, well, why don't you give it a shot, mate? So men's groups are springing up, at least for one day, and we'll see what happens after that. Please show up for him. I'm actually away, so I won't be there. But please show up for him because, that would be fantastic. Just prayer, what Al's doing on Wednesdays, stopping for the holidays, but just incredible. Just worship and what Conrad's doing and Joe have been doing in the chapel, just amazing on Sunday nights. Stuff springing up all over the place, and it's like this life that's happening there. And if you haven't noticed, invite you to come and be part of that thing. It's a God thing, we would think, not just a, oh, there's a whole lot of people, let's make them busy, or let's give them something to do. But it's like it's a spontaneity, which is magnificent, I think. We've got new people contributing in our midst. I mean, I was so surprised when Carly said today, I've been here 2 years. It's like, have you only been here 2 years? You almost run the place, sort of. She's just awesome, Carly, and what she's doing. Talking about, though, the person who almost runs the place, Paulina, who is our operations pastor, and in a sense, Paulina and Chris, they haven't been there all that long, but have been become so significant in who and what we do. And so Paulina's title has been operations pastor, but we want to recognise the real role she's doing, which is as assistant pastor. And so we're now naming her, in a sense, of the job that she's already doing as our assistant pastor here, because she's just brilliant, isn't she? I mean, how brilliant is she? So bless you in that. So we've also added James Isherwood to our board. So our board is kind of growing and developing, and so bless you, James, left-handed guitarist, all of that sort of thing. I just love that left-handed guitar. It's just something about that, sort of as we develop and grow some of these things. And then I'm thinking of the things that we can't see. And so there are so many things that happen that we don't really see on Sunday. Just tell you too, our food bank, which we do talk about a lot, and a lot of you are involved in, but down the end of that corridor, lives just get changed on a daily basis. It is an incredible thing that's happening out of our sort of our heart and out of our midst, out of our core of who we are. And so it's a wonderful thing to be part of Shore Vineyard, and then the Good Works Trust, which administers that. But Sophie and her team, we've appointed 2 new staff into that area because it's just booming so much. That's a really important thing. And the other thing I was going to mention is youth, which we actually don't see a lot of in our services, but youth on Wednesday night is just booming. And what Carly is doing and her leaders is amazing. And so, what a blessing it is. And as we work together for these things to give life, and that group, their lives will be changed as they go down to the camp, and let's support them and help them and help them to grow. And so rebuilding is happening. Rebuilding is happening, and it's a wonderful thing. And I'm so glad to be part of it, and so glad that you guys are part of it too. So harking back to the beginning of the year, I posed a few what-if questions. And this was what they were, and I want to just mention them again as we come towards our close. I said, what if everyone who walked through the door was a gift from God, or we considered a gift from God? In a sense, just look across the room, and so there are a whole lot of gifts of God here at the moment who are here. It's worth getting to know them and to know who they are and to be there for them in good times and bad times and hard times. And I've just said to our Facebook Live community, because I was thinking about it, I don't know how many, but we have a group that are part of Shore Vineyard who we never see, but we really want to be part of your lives. It's just a case of either distance or whatever it might be, but so that we can be your church and properly be your church, not just in a casual sense, but in a sense of actually seeing you as gifts from God. And so that's what we can do, I think, with technology these days, both those who are here and those who are not here. But also, what if we genuinely believe that we could do it better if we did it together? That somehow at this time that we could say, this is a really key season, of some years, but it's still a season for us as a church, but to do that together. And then what if we believe that individually and collectively, or that we could invite God into every event, every decision, every joy, every pain, every process, every conflict, every conversation? What sort of year would that be, or what sort of half year would that be? And then to add to the what-ifs, I posed a series of questions that I thought might be helpful. And this was back in January, and if you've got a memory of that, you may have, but chances are that you haven't. And so it just gives us a bit of a chance as we finish to reset with these 4 questions. which I think in any context are really relevant to us and worth thinking about. And these would be the questions that I think would take us through the rest of the year. We could apply them in our lives and we could see the things that God's wanting to do. And so the first question is, how can I let God in? What are the things in my life that are, open doors and opportunities for God to be able to come in? What are the rhythms? What are the practices? Is there something that, I do, or a moment of openness? That's why I'm trying to really emphasize the end of worship at the end of our worship every week, because it feels like, man, that's a moment where collectively and individually we might be a little softer than we normally are. And, I don't say that judgmentally, but it is an opportunity, isn't it? So let's walk into that. That's something we can do every week together. Whether we've got a big band or a small band or whatever, we will be worshiping some way or another. And that there's going to be a moment where you can connect with God. There's a possibility. There's a time to let God in. But what other things are there? Things that you do, things that you might be open. And I think we sometimes get this sort of slightly passive-aggressive thing. It's like, well, God can speak to me if he really wants to. But my experience is the softer and the more I walk towards him, the more I hear and the more I experience. And so what are the ways that I can let God in is a really important question for us to be asking. I think another really important question for us to ask is, how can I respond when God it turns up unexpectedly, to God's unexpected? I love the story in Matthew where Jesus is saying to his disciples, who do people say I am? And sort of they fluff around, some of those other people say you're Moses and some say you're Elijah or something like that. And Jesus sort of pins them down. He says, yeah, but who do you say that I am? And Peter, in this moment of genius, this moment of revelation, says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And it's like, sometimes God just arrives and we respond with that. Different sort of circumstance, but I was going from the chapel upstairs, sort of just around to come downstairs, and I bumped into this guy on bare feet the other day, and he said, are you from the church? And I said, yeah, I'm from the church. He said, can you pray for me? I said, yeah, I'd love to pray for you. He said, I'm a mental health patient. I've just been released from a mental health facility and care, and I've just got a new house to go to, and I saw the church sign, and I just want you to pray for me. And I said, look, do you need anything else? No. He said, I'm on my way, and so we're standing there on the drive, and I'm just praying for him. And I'm thinking, it would be great for these sorts of encounters. Haven't seen him again. Thought he might come back. Thought he might have other needs. Maybe he still will. It was only a month ago. But what do we do when God's unexpected comes? Are we available? And do we even believe that God would unexpectedly come and use us? I believe it 100%. It'd be great if we could be that sort of community. What is God inviting me to examine in my life? What are the things that actually, undermine who I am and faith and all of those things that kind of can bubble along in our lives, So is it time for me to get a bit less angry? Is it a time for me to deal with that habit that's not a great one or that's causing issues? Is it time to sort of recognize that the fire's gone out and I'm cold? Is it time to go and get marriage counseling? Is it time? Whatever it might be. Is it time? And so what is God inviting me to examine? So it's not like, wag a finger. It's like God's invitation of saying, Vic, at this time, here's a season for you to this or that or whatever. What would God be wanting to examine and walking with me? And then finally, where will I go in adversity? I said for the year, this was in January, we had the rains at the end of January, and it's like we had a lot of adversity even within our own congregation, and so maybe some of you have found places to go. Maybe some of you are still finding places to go. But adversity will hit over 12 months, won't it? Adversity will probably hit over 6 months at some stage along the way. I mean, I've been staggered at the challenges our congregation has faced, with health and life and death and all sorts of things just over the course of this year. this is the real world, this is real life, and where am I going to go in adversity? And for me, I've said this, a number of times, in adversity, I go to Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. It's just something that's happened, and it's been so, restorative and hopeful for me over the course of the last couple of years, really. But where will I go in adversity so that I can be safe and secure? And that's a little less of it. So it's not like a, kind of question one. I'll listen to some scripture tomorrow. It's like, oh no, where will I go when things are really hard so that I can be in contact with God? Those things I think are so important. So we're halfway through the year, still smiling. We're, kind of a little bit more daylight, although Fran and I woke up this morning and I was like, it's so dark and it's so wet. I was going to say, and we don't want to go to church, but we never say that, do we? Because you never say that, so how can I ever say that? Hey, it's such an honor, It's such a privilege to do life, to do church, to grow old, within church, to be part of process, to sort of think bigger than my own small life, to have people who are here when they're needed, and hopefully that I and others will be here when, and you will be there when others need it. What a great thing it is that God is doing and might do and can do. I think that's the invitation, really. We do these sorts of things and then we throw them around and bounce them around in our home groups. We're sort of at church and we worship and we've got a song on our heart, that we drive to work in the next morning. We're missing 1 week and someone texts us and say, hey, I missed you. We're going into hospital in 3 weeks and then somebody remembers and follows up and prays for us. These are the things that together will make a difference. So, I don't know, when you play soccer, you have to remind your 5-year-olds to turn around and you're now playing the other direction. It's like, how you were, buzzing around the ball even though I told you not to and going that way? We'll keep buzzing around the ball, but we're actually going this way from now. I don't know that metaphor works at all for church, but hey, come back next week. It's going to be fun. It is just a pleasure to be together. So why don't we stand, and Miles and the team are going to come back. We're just going to sing that blessing again. We do have is that going to be all right, Conrad? We were a bit short at the back there today, but I think we've got it nailed. If you would like some prayer, I'd love to sort of reintroduce a willingness and awareness and an openness to prayer and being prayed for. If you'd like some prayer, if you've got an issue, if you're in some way, kind of needing a touch of God, please come forward. That would be something that we as a church could be part of your life. We could sense your vulnerability, brave, strong, all of that sort of thing. And what an amazing thing it would be if God was to speak or to move. We're open to those sorts of things. We would trust and expect that those sorts of things would happen. Would really welcome you up as we sing this. So God bless you. Farewell to you guys on Facebook Live. I reckon I remember that about once every 5 weeks or something. I remembered it today. You've probably gone already, but bless you.
Bless you. Let's sing this over one another.